What if your karma is already working? Let's pause for a second. You didn't find this article by accident. Maybe you stumbled upon it during a quiet moment. Maybe it popped up while you were scrolling, or maybe something deep inside nudged you here. Either way, here you are. And that's not just coincidence. You ever get that feeling something good is happening to you, but you can't quite explain it? Like you're not doing anything radically different, but life seems to flow a bit more easily. People respond to you with warmth. Obstacles still come, but they don't crush you. Even when things fall apart, something about you doesn't. Could it be your karma? We often associate karma with cosmic punishment. Do something wrong, and it'll come back to bite you. But that's only one side of it. The quiet side, the sweeter side, is what happens when your karma is good. And trust me, most people don't talk about that part enough. But here's the thing. You don't have to be a monk or spiritual guru to experience good karma. You don't have to meditate in the Himalayas, renounce your possessions, or be perfect. You just need to move through life with integrity, with presence, with a heart that means well, even when it falters. And when you do, something starts to shift. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep. You become the kind of person who walks through fire and still carries water for others. Karma isn't what you think it is. Let's get something straight. Karma isn't some cosmic scoreboard tallying up your sins and virtues. It's not a divine punishment machine waiting to zap you every time you mess up. It's more subtle than that. Karma, in its essence, is simply action, and the energy behind that action. Every thought, word, or deed you release into the world plants a seed. Some seeds grow fast, others lie dormant for years, but they all grow eventually. So if you're moving through life with kindness, intention, and truth, you're planting an invisible garden around you, and someday, usually when you least expect it, you find yourself sitting in the shade of a tree you don't even remember planting. That's good karma. It's the hidden architecture behind the moments that feel like grace. You might not even realize you're living with good karma. Now here's the fun part. People who have good karma often don't know it. Why? Because they're not trying to rack up spiritual points. They're not obsessed with being good or appearing holy. They're just aligned. They treat others well. They don't carry hate. They choose compassion more often than revenge. Not because it's strategic, but because it feels natural. If that sounds like you, even just a little, then you might already be living in the overflow of your own quiet, accumulated karma. You might be the kind of person who attracts help without asking, feels peaceful even in chaos, finds the right words when someone's hurting, lets go without drama, sleeps better because your conscience is clear. These things, they're not luck, they're not coincidence, they're the soft blessings of a karmic account that's in the green. Good karma feels like still water. Here's a metaphor for you. Imagine your life as a lake. When your karma is messy, full of deception, harm, blame, resentment, the waters are choppy. Every breeze becomes a storm. You can't see through the waves. Everything feels urgent, emotional, reactive. But when your karma is clean, the water settles. You start to see. You become still enough to hear. And most of all, you start to reflect light. Just like still water does. That's the kind of karma we're talking about. Not flashy, not dramatic, just quietly powerful. You're not lucky, you're aligned. Ever noticed how some people seem to catch all the breaks? We're quick to call them lucky, but there's usually something deeper going on. When your karma is balanced, you naturally align with the flow of life. You're no longer swimming against the current. You're moving with it. That's when opportunities seem to land in your lap. That's when people gravitate towards you without knowing why. That's when what you need shows up without you having to beg for it. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's the delayed return of energy you've already sent out. Good karma isn't always loud, but it's always real. You won't always get applause for your choices. The people you help might forget. The forgiveness you offer might never be acknowledged. The kindness you give may go unnoticed. But karma notices. The universe keeps receipts, not for judgment but for balance. And when the time is right, that balance tips in your favor. Without warning, someone shows up to help you carry your burden. You land the opportunity you thought had passed you by. The storm clears just when you thought it would never end. It's not a miracle. It's the gentle reward of spiritual momentum. Let me ask you this. Have you felt more emotionally stable recently? Like your highs and lows are less extreme? Do people tell you they feel calm or safe around you? Do you find yourself forgiving faster, holding on less? Do the right people seem to show up even if the wrong ones leave? Then maybe, just maybe, your karma has been speaking, quietly, softly, but steadily. What you'll discover in the next chapters. So what exactly does good karma feel like? What happens when it flows through you? Over the next several chapters, we'll walk through 7 powerful, life-changing experiences that only people with good karma truly understand. And don't worry, this won't be a list of vague spiritual cliches. We're going deep into emotion, into story, into the beautiful, complex human truth behind what it means to walk through life with a soul that's been doing the work. Some of it may surprise you. Some of it may describe you more than you expected. But all of it will reveal something beautiful, not just about karma, but about the quiet power you've already been carrying. 1. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Let's get brutally honest here. Most people are emotional pendulums, up when life is good, crashing down when things go wrong. They ride the roller coaster of circumstances. Paycheck comes in, they're ecstatic. Argument with a loved one, they spiral. Delayed train, their whole day is ruined. Sound familiar? But then there are others, rare ones, who don't react that way. They're not cold or numb. They're just steady, centered, like no matter what's happening around them, they carry a kind of inner calm that isn't easily shaken. You've probably met someone like this. Or maybe without realizing it, you are someone like this. And if so, that's not luck, that's karma. When the world's on fire, but you're still breathing easy, here's what people with good karma understand, not intellectually, but through lived experience. Peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the refusal to let chaos own you. Let that sink in. You could be in the middle of heartbreak, deadlines, unpaid bills, or medical uncertainty, and still have a small, steady place within you that's untouched. Not because you're ignoring reality, but because your karma has already cleared out the panic, the desperation, the mental noise that most people live with. It's like you've done the emotional heavy lifting already. So when the storm hits, your foundation doesn't crack. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about karmic clarity. Look, anyone can force a smile. Anyone can repeat affirmations or try to think happy thoughts. But this is deeper. When your karma is clean, your energy doesn't carry old grudges. It doesn't echo with past regrets or future anxieties. You've made peace with your actions, and that creates real stillness, the kind that doesn't need to be faked. You walk through your day with a kind of quiet confidence, not because you expect everything to go right, but because you're okay even if it doesn't. It's not immunity from pain. It's immunity from unnecessary suffering. The story of the monk who smiled. During the storm, let me tell you a little story. There was a Zen monk who lived on the edge of a mountain forest. One day, a fierce storm swept through the village. Trees snapped, roofs tore off. Everyone panicked and ran for shelter. But the monk, he stood outside under his tiny awning just watching. A young boy from the village saw him and yelled, "Aren't you afraid?" The wind could blow everything away. The monk smiled, not arrogantly, not carelessly, but with deep gentleness. He said, "The wind is loud, yes, but my heart has heard louder. That monk wasn't crazy. He wasn't in denial. He had simply trained his heart to stay calm, long before the storm arrived. That's what good karma gives you. Not control over the weather, but control over your reaction to it. You don't react, you respond. People with peaceful karma don't live in constant reaction. You know what that looks like. Snapping back in arguments, overthinking a rude text, panicking over a minor inconvenience, spinning into overdrive just because something didn't go as planned. That's reactivity. But people with good karma, they respond thoughtfully, quietly, from a deeper place. They know when to pause, when to speak, when to walk away. Why? Because their karmic path has already taught them what happens when you let emotions drive the car, and they've made peace with the wreckage. Now they drive differently. The peace isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a lack of drama. Here's something wild you'll notice. Good karma often shows up as what doesn't happen. No emotional overreactions, no pointless fights, no breakdowns over things you used to stress about. People will say, "You've changed," and you have, but not in the way they think. You're just not interested in pain that doesn't teach you anything anymore. You don't stir the pot. You don't need to be right. You don't chase closure or explanations, because real peace, karmic peace, makes you uninterested in things that once set you on fire. That's growth, and it's quiet. You start trusting the process, not just the plan. This is a big one. Most people trust plans. They trust outcomes. They trust things they can see and control. But what happens when the plan fails? Panic. However, if your karma is clear, you start to trust something deeper. The process. Even if your plan derails, you don't freak out. You've been through enough cycles to know that life has its own rhythm, its own logic, its own grace, and you've stopped arguing with it. That trust, that calm, that's karmic wisdom. You notice when you're not at war with yourself. Anymore, peace isn't just about the world around you. It's about what's going on inside your head. Most people are in a constant inner battle. Regret versus hope, guilt versus desire, ego versus insecurity. But people with good karma, they've cleaned up those emotional battlegrounds, not perfectly, but enough to feel safe in their own mind. They've forgiven themselves. They've stopped over-identifying with every passing thought. They've built a friendship with silence. And let me tell you, that's one of the rarest kinds of peace you'll ever find. The old you would have panicked, but you don't anymore ever catch yourself reacting differently to something that used to trigger you, like someone disrespects you, and instead of exploding or spiraling, you just breathe. That's growth. But more than that, it's karmic healing. You've already been through the fire. You've made amends. You've done the soul work, so your nervous system doesn't leap into survival mode the way it used to. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You've outgrown chaos, and not by force, but by frequency. You realize that peace is the ultimate flex. Forget the car, forget the house, forget the followers. Peace, real, unshakable peace, is the most powerful thing you can own. It's the ability to walk through a storm and not beg the sky to stop raining. It's knowing you can't control everything, but you can control how you carry it. It's smiling, not because life is perfect, but because you're not depending on perfection to feel joy anymore. That's what people with good karma experience, and it's rare, and it's powerful, and if you've tasted it even a little, you're already further along than you think. 2. People trust you without knowing why. Ever walked into a room and noticed people just settle around you? Not because you said anything profound, not because you dressed to impress, but because your presence, quiet, grounded, calm, just made everything feel a little safer. If that sounds familiar, here's something you need to hear. That's not charisma, that's karma. People feel your energy before you speak a word. Let's break a myth right away. You don't need to be loud or flashy to be respected. In fact, many of the most trusted people are the ones who barely speak. But when they do, people listen. Why? Because their energy says something long before their voice does. People with good karma give off an aura of stability, like a lighthouse. They don't chase ships, they just stand there and shine. And boats find their way. This kind of trust, you can't fake it. You earn it with every honest word, every intention you didn't act on for selfish gain. Every time you kept your heart clean when it would have been easier to manipulate or deceive. When your karma is good, you become safe, without even trying. In a world that constantly puts people on edge, toxic workplaces, transactional friendships, fake smiles, a person who feels safe is rare. And strangely enough, safety isn't about what you do. It's about what you don't do. You don't gossip. You don't judge too quickly. You don't seek control in every interaction. You don't need to be the smartest one in the room. All of that builds trust. People with good karma don't come with hidden motives. There's no manipulative undertone in their presence. You can breathe around them. You can drop your guard, because somehow you just know they won't use your vulnerability against you. A quick story. The man in the coffee shop. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who sat at the same cafe every morning, reading the paper and sipping tea. He rarely spoke, didn't know anyone's name, but slowly people began sitting near him. First, one, then a few more. One day, a woman broke down crying at the next table. The man didn't interrupt her, didn't pry, just slid a napkin her way with 3 words written on it. You're not alone. She later said it was the safest she'd ever felt in public. Why? Because she could feel without explanation that this man carried no judgment. That's karmic presence. That's trust you don't have to ask for. You radiate emotional honesty, and that's rare. Let's face it, people lie all the time, not just with words but with energy. They pretend to be okay, pretend to be kind, pretend to care, and most of us, on some level, feel it. That's why, when someone walks in with emotional honesty, not perfect, but real, it's like fresh air in a windowless room. People trust that, people crave that, and people with good karma don't have to fake authenticity. They've already been through enough to know pretending is exhausting, so they stopped. And now people can finally breathe around them. Leadership without ego. Why people follow without being asked. You've probably seen this in meetings, group chats, or family discussions. There's always that one person people look to, not because they talk the most, but because their voice has weight. Their calm is contagious. Their silence has authority. That's not coincidence. It's karma. People with good karma have already let go of the need to dominate. They don't posture, they don't power play. Their energy says, I'm not here to win, I'm here to help. And that makes people lean in, because when someone is free from ego, you want to follow their lead. Why people tell you things they've never said out loud. If you've ever had strangers open up to you, spill their stories, share their wounds, it's not random, it's karmic. People with good karma often act as mirrors, not because they reflect judgment, but because they reflect truth. And truth is rare, healing even. That emotional safety, that's what makes someone whisper, I don't know why I'm telling you this. But deep down, they do know. They feel that they're being held, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, without pressure, without shame. You've done the work, so you don't need to prove anything. Let's be real. Trust is hard to build when you're still trying to prove your worth. But when your karma is clean, you stop performing. You don't over-explain yourself. You don't chase approval. You don't play roles to impress anyone. You just show up. Fully, honestly, unapologetically. And ironically, that's when people start trusting you the most, because you're not desperate for validation. You're just real. And real is rare. You set boundaries with grace, and people respect. That another reason people trust those with good karma? They don't need to say yes to everything. They can say no, clearly, respectfully, firmly, without guilt-tripping or playing games. And people respect that, because they sense that your no is rooted in self-respect, not bitterness. That your boundaries aren't walls to keep people out, but fences to protect your peace. You become trustworthy because you're consistent. People know where they stand with you, and in a world full of mixed signals, that's a gift. Your energy isn't loud, but it's memorable. People may not remember your exact words. They might not recall what you wore, what you ordered, or where you met, but they'll remember this: how they felt around you. People with good karma often leave behind emotional fingerprints, not because they tried to impress, but because their calm, steady presence stuck with someone long after the moment passed. You become the kind of person people think about when they're having a hard time, when they need comfort, when they wish someone understood. That's trust. That's karmic resonance. You make people want to be better. Without saying a word, you don't push, you don't preach, you just live with dignity, kindness, honesty, and presence. And somehow, that makes people check themselves, rethink their choices, aspire to rise, not because they feel judged by you, but because they're inspired by you. People with good karma act as quiet catalysts for growth. They don't bark orders, they don't shame, they don't teach lessons. They just exist in alignment, and let that speak louder than anything else. 3. Opportunities show up when you're not looking. Ever noticed how when you stop chasing things, they somehow start showing up? You let go of the job you were begging for, and a better one slides into your inbox. You stop texting that person who ghosted you, and someone who actually sees you appears. You quit trying to control every outcome, and life starts flowing again. That's not coincidence. That's karma doing its thing. You stop forcing, you start aligning. When your karma is clear, you don't hustle from a place of desperation. You move with ease. You don't beg for doors to open. They just unlock when the time's right, because you're not trying to take from life anymore. You're living in a way that invites life in. Right time, right place, right frequency. Good karma isn't loud. It doesn't always feel like winning the lottery. Sometimes it's subtle. Meeting the right person at the grocery store. A casual conversation that turns into a job offer. A tiny decision that leads to a huge breakthrough. It's all part of the invisible return of what you've already given. Kindness, patience, effort, love, when no one was watching. A quick story: the artist who let go. There was a painter who tried for years to sell her work. Nothing clicked. One day she gave up the grind and just painted for joy. 2 months later, a collector found her piece in a local cafe. The deal changed her life. She didn't chase, she aligned. Her energy shifted, her karma caught up. You don't need to push what's meant for you. When your karma's clean, you no longer feel frantic. You know what's yours will find you, not because you sat still, but because you moved with honesty, with kindness, and with trust. And that, more than any strategy, is what opens doors. 4. You lose people, and it doesn't break you. Let's be honest, losing people hurts. Even when it's the right thing, a breakup, a friendship that fades, a family member who walks away, it leaves a space, a silence. But here's what's different when your karma is good. That loss doesn't shatter you. You don't fall apart. You don't beg. You don't chase. You accept. You know some goodbyes are actually grace. When your karma is clear, you start seeing endings differently, not as punishments, but as clearing. You've done your part. You've loved honestly. You've spoken your truth. And if someone still walks, you let them, because you trust that if they were meant for your journey, they'd still be walking beside you. You stop holding on to what doesn't hold you. People with good karma don't cling. They don't keep forcing connections that don't feel mutual. They don't chase people just to avoid being alone. They've outgrown the drama, the neediness, the ego-driven pain. They know losing someone isn't failure. Sometimes it's freedom. A quiet story, the woman who didn't ask why she loved him deeply, but he left. No explanation. She cried, of course. But she didn't beg for closure. She whispered, I hope you find peace, and walked away. Years later, she said, that moment didn't break me. It revealed me. That's karmic strength. 5. You sleep better, emotionally and literally. Let's talk about something simple, but telling. Sleep. Not the kind where you pass out from exhaustion, not the kind where your body's still but your mind's racing. I'm talking about real, peaceful, soul-deep rest. People with good karma sleep differently because they're not carrying the emotional clutter that keeps most people awake. When your conscience is clear, so is your mind. You've probably had those nights. You're in bed, lights off, but your brain won't shut up. Replaying conversations, regretting choices, worrying about tomorrow. That's karmic noise. But when your karma is clean, when you've acted with integrity, when you've made peace with the past, that noise fades. Not instantly, but steadily. You rest easier, you breathe deeper, you wake up lighter. You're not battling guilt, resentment, or unfinished business. Good karma doesn't mean a perfect life. It means a cleaner emotional field. You're not haunted by words you wish you hadn't said. You're not clinging to grudges. You're not hiding from who you've become. That kind of self-alignment brings something rare, emotional rest, and emotional rest leads to actual physical rest. Analogy. Time, karma is like your browser tabs. Think of your mind like a web browser. Each regret, a tablazat. Each unresolved issue, a tablazat. Each lie you told or truth you avoided. More tabs. Eventually the system slows down. But people with good karma, they've closed most of their tabs. No wonder they sleep better. It's not just sleep, it's peace and stillness. People with good karma don't need background noise to feel okay. They don't dread silence. They've sat with themselves. They've faced the hard parts. And now, even when everything goes quiet, they're not afraid of what they hear. That's a different kind of sleep. That's peace you can feel in your bones. 6. You help others without needing credit. Let's be real. Most people help others and secretly hope someone notices. A thank you, a shout out, maybe a little recognition. But people with good karma, they're different. They help because it's who they are, not because they need applause. No spotlight, no scoreboard, just silent generosity. You do good, then move on. You see someone struggling, you help. Someone's hurting, you show up. A friend's in a dark place, you hold space. And when it's over, you don't post about it. You don't fish for compliments. You don't even tell anyone. Because deep down, you don't need to be seen. You just need to be true. The story, the stranger who gave and disappeared. There's a story of a man who paid for a woman's groceries when she came up short. She cried, he smiled, walked away, no name, no number, no you owe me, just a gesture, pure, quiet, complete. That's good karma in motion. You know that real giving isn't transactional. People with good karma give without strings. They don't keep emotional receipts. They don't expect the universe to repay them. They've learned giving itself is the reward. The feeling of lifting someone, even briefly, is worth more than credit. You're not trying to be good. You just can't help it. Helping others isn't a strategy. It's a reflex. It's not calculated. It's just you. Because when your heart is clean and your intentions are pure, kindness becomes effortless. And what you give, even in secret, always comes back. Just not in ways you expect. 7. Your presence heals without effort. You ever sit next to someone and just feel better? Like your nervous system calms down. Your guard drops. You don't even know why, but suddenly you can breathe again. That's not a fluke. That's a person with good karma. You don't say much, but people feel safe with you. Healing presence isn't about being loud, wise, or overly positive. It's about energy. People with good karma carry a certain quiet, a softness. They don't rush you, don't judge you, don't try to fix you. They just hold space. And in that space, people feel seen, respected, safe. You've done the inner work, so you radiate peace. This kind of energy doesn't come from books. It comes from heartbreak, from self-reflection, from letting go of who you thought you had to be and becoming who you really are. People who've done that work, they glow differently, not bright like a spotlight, but warm like a fire on a cold night. A small story, The Quiet Teacher. There was a teacher who rarely raised her voice. She didn't scold, didn't lecture, but when students cried, they came to her. When they were scared, they stood by her desk. Why? Because her presence felt like safety. Not loud, not forceful, just safe. You don't even try to be healing, you just are. You're not playing therapist, you're not trying to fix anyone. You just show up, honestly, gently, fully, and somehow people feel lighter around you. That's the ripple effect of good karma. Your inner peace becomes someone else's anchor. It's not about changing people, it's about being who you are. You don't preach, you don't push, you just be. And in a world full of noise, that quiet presence heals more than any advice ever could. Final thoughts. Good karma is the result, not the goal. You don't chase good karma, you live in a way that creates it. Here's the truth. People with good karma aren't trying to be saints. They're not obsessed with being spiritual. They're just doing the work, quietly, consistently. They live with integrity when no one's looking. They choose compassion, even when it's inconvenient. They let go, even when their ego wants to hold on. And over time, that way of living builds something. Not flashy rewards, not instant miracles, but a life. Steady, calm, rooted in trust, surrounded by the kind of peace that can't be bought or faked. Maybe you're already there. Look back for a second. Are people drawn to you without knowing why? Do you let go of things that once destroyed you? Do you sleep better? Feel lighter? Do you help without needing a spotlight? Do people say you make them feel safe? Then guess what? Your karma's not just good. It's quietly powerful, and you're probably living in the overflow of everything you've already done. Every kind gesture, every moment of truth, every time you chose love instead of fear. Let this be your gentle reminder. You don't have to force good karma, just live honestly, stay kind, show up with presence. Life will handle the rest, because when your heart is right, your path eventually aligns. And one day, without fanfare or warning, you'll realize you've been living a beautiful life all along. If this resonated with you, like, share, or save it for the days you forget your own light. Your journey is sacred. Even in silence, it's working. Amen.